Hello, Darren.
Hi, Darren. You caught me midway through a painting of Esterhaus from Hill Street Blues. What an amazing coincidence.
Is it spelled? How is Esterhaus spelled?
Esther, Ester, and House as in Haus, like the German.
So, okay, I sometimes pronounce that Esterhaus.
Right, yeah.
Because of the character in John le Carrier's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Right, I see. Right.
And yeah, I might have pronounced it differently had I not heard Alec Guinness say Esterhaus. And in life, I think you should try and say things the way Alec Guinness says them.
Interesting, I think, with the character names and the characters in Hill Street Blues, is that the names reflect the multicultural society in America as well. And
I think that's another childhood thing. I thought about it. God, they're all called such weird things.
Yeah.
Belco, Renko, Forello. And I think that also might have been a sort of education for the young me at how sort of multicultural inner cities were in America.
I think it's stuff like that and Sesame Street.
Yeah.
So many, a big Latin presence in Sesame Street, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And with TV made in Britain, none of that. The cultural representation, the actual makeup of British society wasn't really reflected much in TV at that time, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's because this country is really, really right wing.
Oh yeah.
And we're a bunch of shitbags.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, because also America is as we know quite often an intolerant country when it comes to immigration and stuff. But I think culturally, in the representation in the arts, I think they probably were a little bit ahead of us in these kind of programs.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm drawing a taxi to represent the pro TV program Taxi, which once again is a program I used to watch when I used to come home from Scouts on a Friday evening and my dad would buy me fish and chips. And once again, sort of a strange glimpse into adulthood. And also very grimy, really grimy.
Again, grimy, yeah.
It's like, God, is that what being an adult's like? Is that what workplaces are like? Is that what things are like behind the scenes?
Do you know what TV show did that for me? You're going to laugh at this because I think it's funny. It's a TV show that not only it did that for me, but in the way that, I don't know about you, but the shows that give you that feeling, they're actually, I find it quite frightening. I'm worried about what was going to happen when I left school. Is that a world I'm going to be entering?
Yeah, exactly. I think in Hill Street Blues, it's a program. It's not, up until then, Doctor Who got built. Doctor Who would kill the alien or the baddie each week. Luke Skywalker gets Darth Vader. The good guys win. Yeah. And I think Hill Street Blues is one of those things where the good guys just didn't win each week. And as I was saying before, I wasn't even sure that the police were the good guys.
No.
Tell me what the program is, please.
It was Tucker's Luck.
Ah, yeah.
Because he left school and couldn't get a job. think he ended up being a motorcycle mechanic. But it was very much, if you think it was written by Phil Redmond, who went on to write Brookside.
Who also created Grange Hill.
Created Grange Hill, yeah. And Phil Redmond was a Liverpool guy with left-wing politics, and at a time when we had Thatcher government. And it just felt, watching that, it felt like my life is going to be completely pointless. Once I leave school, that's it. And he was right.
Huh?
He was right.
Did your school have a sixth form?
No. If I wanted to go to sixth form, I would have had to have gone to another school afterwards.
Our school had a sixth form, and the sixth formers didn't have to wear school uniform.
Yeah.
And when you were in the first year or the second year, you saw these guys going round, like Tucker in leather jackets.
Right. Yeah.
And basically adults, women in tights and skirts and not in school uniform. And I think, as a kid in the first year, what they now call year 7, I fancied every single girl in the sixth form. Every one of them, all of them. I wanted all of them to marry me because they were like not teachers, They were in some way us, but they also looked like adults. And they had a little hut in the second year playground, but they had a little hut. And there was one term, and they would go in there, and I just could only imagine what was happening in there. Orgies, I should imagine. Absolute orgies of sex and drugs.
Yeah.
But actually, no, that's not true, because I probably wouldn't have known what an orgy was then. I would have probably just not imagined. I probably just couldn't imagine, but I knew it was other. Oh, was it drink? Were there cigarettes in there? And this hut where all of the sixth formers would go in the playground, one term, every lunchtime, they played Red, Red Wine by UB40 about 6 times in a row because they were crazy for Red, Red Wine. And in that sense that we're talking about, like late night watching, being up later than I was normally allowed to watch Taxi or Hill Street Blues on Channel 4. Similarly, Red, Red Wine by UB40 makes me think of that. It makes me think of, there's something about that song that's so kind of, the song is, to me, is just one big snog before it even had a snog. When I was trying to imagine what a snog even felt like, it's like, I reckon those older kids have tonguey kisses to this song. And I absolutely adore Red, Red Wine by UB40. I'm not interested in any of the, the Neil Diamond version or anything like that.
Right.
I want the UB40 version.
I've got strong opinions on Neil Diamond, and none of them are positive.
How many opinions, and how many do you think are any of them suitable for a conversation about Taxi and Hill Street Blues?
None of them. He couldn't write a good theme tune, I bet.
That's a blues scale, isn't it? That's really neat. It switches to a blues scale on that bit, and it's like when Batgirl showed up in Batman when they did the Batman theme, but in a slight blues scale on a saxophone to make you know that it was a lady.
Make it all sexy.
Yeah. Like you needed to make anything more sexy when Batgirl turned up. It's enough, guys. Just leave it as it is. Talking about the diversity, in Hill Street Blues and American TV programs, and also linking to what we were saying a little earlier about how Hill Street Blues is in a made-up location.
Yeah,
I guess I've given the answer away to this. Where is Latka from?
Which one's Latka?
Andy Kaufman.
Right. Well, I'm assuming no. You're making. Where's he from? An imaginary country.
Yeah. And it's sort of a little hard to get your head around, really, because when you watch. So I fell down a little. I basically fell down an Andy Kaufman hole.
Yeah, as he did himself.
Yes. That's really funny. The problem with Darren was he was doing quite well, and then he fell down this rabbit hole of Darren Hayman. Now, talking about cleaning your brush, I'm really thinking I probably should have cleaned my brush before attempting this New York taxi yellow.
That is yellow ochre from my view.
Okay, right. You carry on talking. I'm going to clean my brush.
See, the thing is, you've really got to keep your brush clean. But we're just too damn lazy. We just you keep going. When you're in the flow of the painting, you just start digging in and going for it. You'll be fine. Won't need to clean this. Oh no, I need to clean it. Right now, I'm doing here. Is that going to be right? That is right, but you kind of worry as well cleaning your palettes that you've got colours on your palette that you kind of want to keep. Well, I mixed that one really nicely. It's a nice little shading colour. Especially with watercolour, you get it wrong, and you've kind of got it wrong.
Have you ever fallen down an Andy Kaufman hole?
I've watched a few clips, and I was interested because Taxi is very much at the edge of my memory. So I wanted to ask you what he's like in Taxi. Is he anything like I've seen of his stand-up?
No.
Right.
I would say he isn't. I would also say, so like a lot of us, I kind of, I remembered Taxi, and then REM did the song.
Yeah.
And then these articles about this other side to him, this how can we describe what he does? This almost like, what is it he does? He's almost like a situationist or surrealist comedian, isn't
he? Yeah.
Where the joke is, well, I don't know what the joke is, actually. I don't know what the joke is. So he does the thing where he wrestles, but he only wrestles women, which turns into a whole thing where another wrestler challenges him, but hurts his neck. But then it turns out that's a setup. Yeah. And we weren't supposed to know that they were both in on it. And lots of these things are in the film with Jim Carrey. Yeah. So I remembered Andy Kaufman from Taxi, who plays Latka, I think I'm saying that right, who's a very sort of sweet foreign man.
Right.
And loads of the humour comes out of misunderstanding and his foreignness.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, that sounds very suspect and not very cool. But
Well, I mean,
but is it okay because the country is made up?
right.
Or is the making up of a country and is someone's an immigrant and no one knows where it is that in itself sort of a reflection of a kind of racism of the writers? Oh, we couldn't be bothered to write a country. He's just a generic immigrant.
Yeah.
But that character in itself was based on a Kaufman character.
Right.
Anyway, getting to the point, I watched the Jim Carrey film, and I came out of the Jim Carrey film thinking, this guy's a prick.
Right.
He's just a prick. I hate I hate pranks.
Yeah.
You know, I hate that kind of bloke sense of humour where they put fag ash in your mouth when you fall asleep or tie your shoelaces together. I don't get what is funny about pranks.
No.
And it seemed to me, based on the film, that that's all Kaufman was. It's like, they didn't understand it. That's why it's so clever. But then I started to watch Kaufman in Taxi and Kaufman on chat shows.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny. And so what I've realised is that I think Jim Carrey is really bad at playing Andy Kaufman. It's something he doesn't quite get. When you see Kaufman do these things, there's this really clever wink to camera he's doing all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so you're wrestling women? Yes, I'm wrestling women because I think I'm stronger than any woman. And it doesn't have the menace in it that when Carrey does it.
Right.
And so I actually think when you actually watch Andy Kaufman, it is actually quite funny, and it's got quite a lot of heart in it. The joke is more, how absurd am I? How stupid am I? Whereas I think when Carrey plays Kaufman, he's sort of saying, look how clever I am.
Yes. Well, yeah, can you imagine that? Because he's doing an impression, isn't he? He's showing off that I can do Andy Kaufman. There's also possibly an element of, I've been chosen to play him because I'm the closest thing you're ever going to get to him.
Well, there's also there's this other film, isn't there? I forget what it's called. Is it called something like Andy and Me or something like that? And it's a documentary about the making of The Man in the Moon.
And which I bet is more interesting.
It's okay. It's a story about how basically it's the fact that Jim Carrey gets obsessed with Andy Kaufman and never breaks character. So Andy Kaufman himself had this other character called what's he called? Tony something, a lounge singer.
Yes, I've seen him doing that.
Yeah, and he would arrive on set, on the Taxi set, and he even tried to get the character into Taxi at one point, and this would annoy everyone. And then Jim Carrey started doing it. Jim Carrey started turning up on set as the other singer and think, this is the spirit of Andy. I must disrupt everything.
How did Andy Kaufman get that role? Was he part of Saturday Night Live or anything like that?
The Latka character was a character of his. So he did a character like that where he spoke in this strange accent and didn't understand things. And I think he did it on Saturday Night Live or somewhere. And then the Taxi guys went, this could be a character.
And was Danny DeVito from Saturday Night Live too, or was he?
No, I don't think so, but we are way out of my expertise now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think Danny DeVito was just a
general actor.
Yeah. And then,
very
I think none of these people are the star of Taxi.
Right.
I think the star of Taxi happens in, I think, season 2 or 3, and it's Christopher Lloyd.
Right. From Back to the Future.
Yeah, and he plays this character called Iggy, who is really, really funny.
Right.
And is kind of once again sort of a version of Doc Brown. I mean, he still has that voice, that kind of wide-eyed craziness about him.
Yeah, yeah. Going to use a bit of acrylic here.
I used a tiny bit of acrylic on here.
Right. Well,
I used a bit of acrylic to get these white bits. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing for the highlights in Esterhaus's eyes. He's got a lot of sparkle in his eyes. I think we need to see it. Esterhaus he always reminds me as someone who you'd love as your boss. And you'd do what he asked you. You trust him to come up with the right.
Farillo too, though, right?
Decision. Farillo as well, both of them. Yeah, they make a great team. And I'm suspecting we're going to see more of the Latino guy who works with them too as well.
The bald guy with the moustache?
Yeah. He's kind of in the background a little bit at the moment. He's not had his own story. You've
got sort of two underlings to Farillo, haven't you? You've got him and you've got the guy that wears the dicky bow.
Yeah, he was like the kind of the negotiator in the first episode with the high.
I like him.
Yeah, he's an odd character. He's one who brings the dog in, this big husky dog.
The second episode is the dog story.
Yeah, Belka's back at it. So strange. So I
sort of felt sure you were going to draw Belka when we were doing Hill Street Blues. Well, you are still doing Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, I may still at some point. I had to draw Hill and Renko because they're my favourites.
Well, see, I'm thinking things come in threes. So I'm now thinking, what would a third car be? Done the police car from Hill Street Blues. Done a taxi from Taxi. So we're thinking of a US show.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you want, there's only one car. If you're going back in time, there's only one car.
Like Starsky and Hutch or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose so. But in a way, like what I've done with these two is they're not actually the star of the show, are they? They're just,
and the car in Starsky and Hutch wasn't it?
Very much the star of the show, wasn't it?
Yeah. Apart from the episode when David Soul played a country singer undercover and actually got to sing on the show, then he's the star.
Oh, well, here's a quiz for you.
Yeah.
Which faded 90s indie singer covered David Soul's
Don't say it. I didn't hear you say it. Let me guess. Is it Don't Give Up on Us, Baby?
Yeah.
And would that faded indie singer be you?
Yeah.
Yes. Doing really well at these quizzes. Don't give up on us, baby.
Once again, a real maze of chords.
Yeah, I bet.
Particularly, there's like a middle eight. It does a real key change. And at that point, when you're just a fumbling indie kid, you're like, oh, crikey, this is how real people do it.
Oh, writer. This was written by a famous songwriter.
Don't Give Up on the Spade was written.
Sorry?
Well, Don't Give Up on the Spade was written by a famous songwriter.
Yeah. Do you know the name Tony Macaulay?
No, I don't. No.
Shall I tell you what he wrote?
Yeah, you tell me what he wrote.
Okay, so actually, I'm saying that I can't find it. Do you remember That Same Old Feeling by Pickety Witch?
Oh yeah, well that's a couple of cars, isn't it?
Yeah. Build Me Up Buttercup.
Well, that's a swimming pool, isn't it?
Lights of Cincinnati that Scott Walker did, I think, on
that's probably a
first album. And here's the big one. Love Grows Where My Rosemary Goes.
Because it almost sounds like the other songs are all kind of dress rehearsals for Love. It sounds like he's working up to that.
Yeah, it does, yeah. So yeah, David Soul sang a Tony Macaulay song. So we get on all we're talking about cars.
Yeah, no.
He also wrote Silver Lady. He also wrote Silver Lady for David Soul as well.
Bad, is it?
Yeah.
I realise there's a bad bit of sun on my pitch. I'm just going to move so we can get him out of the sun.
I need to just put the words on this answer. I'm not going to get it. It's very like me to get the words deliberately wrong on this, but I'm not going to, because I'm really pleased with the painting, so I want them to be proper.
Also, I think it only seems obvious to us because we've been talking about Hill Street Blues for an hour, but I think to a lot of people, the combination of those words and that face, I think that's a winner.
I can't find my favourite brush. I should have looked for it before I started painting. This is not my writing brush. You tend to just use one brush, don't you?
Yeah, I really like this brush. It came with one of these sets of schminker paints, and then one got chewed up by Minnie the dog, and I went to quite a lot of effort to re-find one. I think it's just right. I can do the big areas and I can just lift it up for the details.
Right.
I have got another brush here. I did a couple of tiny bits on the Hill Street Blues car with this.
Yeah. So I use one like that, a really, really,
really fine one
brush, and I use a flat brush for most of my painting. But then I use one that's more like a standard round brush for the actual writing that I do.
But I do sort of quite like quite often doing a picture where I don't use. I sometimes quite enjoy if I see an opportunity for the whole of a painting to be done in one brush, like my main brush. I sort of enjoy it. I mean, I know no one cares, but it feels sort of slightly more artist-like.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean. I don't know what I mean. It's just like an internal little challenge to myself.
Yeah. It's looking good. I like that.
I think this is looking better than the other one. Yeah, there's sort of a thing with the amount of, with painting almost, because I paint objects and you paint faces.
Yeah.
One problem I find sometimes is just, this sounds like a big philosophical point I'm going to make now, is just how grey the world is.
Yeah.
And like on this, I'm looking at this picture and really there's a splash of yellow, but everything else in this painting is degrees of grey.
is, but the taxi really pops.
Yeah. And
the background is great. I know it is just shades of grey, but it
okay.
looks
Right.
like
Well, then,
it's a blurred background, like you'd get in.
Yeah, this is a thing I've been doing recently with backgrounds, where I use the ink line on the foreground, but on the background I only use brush.
Yeah,
and yeah, you're right. I think on a couple of pictures I've got really lucky, and it almost creates like a camera depth of field thing.
Yeah, so they call it bokeh, BOKEH, and it's I think it's a Japanese term that kind of describes the blurry depth of field you get if you've got your camera aperture quite wide.
Yeah,
and that's what you're creating. And now you're sticking that black on, it's really jumping off the page, that taxi.
Yeah.
I've just stopped.
Hold on, that expression is an expression in photography.
Bokeh, BOKEH.
But does it apply to painting as well?
It doesn't, but you've created the same effects.
Oh. It's quite unnerving. It's quite unnerving when, I mean, I know you don't mean it, but it's quite when the other person says, "Oh, it's going well," a little fear has gone into their hand.
But it feels like you've reached a point where you can't. I'm going to say it. Well, you can't spoil it now. You've done it.
No, but you have made. Well, let me tell you where you've made me sort of slightly second guess myself,
right?
Because I felt that background wasn't quite finished, and I was preparing myself for another darker grey. So I think really now I've said that, I feel I have to do that, don't I? Because I feel I shouldn't let you influence me. Because So,
this is jeopardy.
Yeah. Well, firstly, there was a couple of windows. So there was a couple of windows here. So I was just going to do a couple of.
Oh, that's nice. Though that reflects the colour of the taxi.
Maybe one over here, and then I don't think I'll go right to black, but I think I will go to like another, just to show these are. It's hard to explain what they are. It's kind of a building and there's columns.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's parked up in a financial district.
Yeah.
Yes, I have one lens on my camera that has that kind of depth of field.
Yeah.
And when I film with it, it's particularly successful. And I actually call it my Downton Abbey lens. Because it seemed like when Downton Abbey, that kind of really shallow depth of field thing was really like everywhere.
I've never seen Downton Abbey.
I don't even know if I have. I think I was just.
Do you know the theme? Is the theme like? Is it some sort of string quartet theme or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's no Hill Street Blues.
No, I bet it's not.
I did watch it. I watched the first series and then I stopped.
Did you?
Yeah.
I couldn't watch it. It's too many posh people doing things. I'm looking at there's a shadow on the right hand side now as I'm looking at it, and it feels actually on your table. Yeah. Now I feel it's like it's like you're watching the FA Cup final on a sunny day and half the pitch is in shade.
Nearly there. I'll only be a couple more minutes. Just gonna. No.
So,
this is a case where I'm going to do the shadow where it isn't on the picture, because I feel like in the picture the shadow should be more like that.
Yeah, you think it needs it elsewhere.
Yeah. Sometimes like photographs don't look right.
Yeah.
Just going to beef it up a little bit with a few lines.
while you're doing that, I'm going to tell you other theme tunes that Mike Post composed.
I think he did L.A. Law, didn't he?
He did L.A. Law, which was that also Stephen Bochco, sorry. Yeah,
Stephen Bochco,
blues writer. He did the Rockford Files.
Oh, see, that's right. Yeah, that's a really good theme tune.
He did Magnum P.I.
That is a good theme tune.
Now, interestingly, I started watching Magnum P.I. again recently, and the theme tune didn't come in until episode 9.
Ah.
So it's really disconcerting and discombobulating to watch the first few shows without that.
And is it just a different one?
It's a different one. It's more traditional. They've used a big band, very brassy sound for it, whereas the one we all know and love is more rocking. The guitar intro. It's really hard to watch without that theme tune. It's really odd how much of a difference it makes.
Have you ever seen the Magnum Murder, She Wrote crossover episode?
No. I didn't know there was one.
Absolutely. It totally exists.
Does she go to Hawaii?
I think she does, yes.
Love it.
I think that's done.
I'm just going to give you one final Mike Post fact. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
In 1998, or actually 1997, he produced Van Halen 3.
That's funny.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That's lovely.
I think I do like it. It's the better out of the two, isn't it?
I think it is. Just about. Part of it
that's quite a car collection now. I have 4 cars I've painted.
Yeah. We'll take the tape off this. I might see if we can get Hill and Renko in the same shot here. Let's see. I'm really pleased with these that I've done.
Yeah, it's good paint day, isn't it?
So, there we go. Yeah.
Well done, everyone.
Isn't it great how this TV show that led us to this, how art inspires art? It's wonderful, isn't it?
It is, but I think that's been your thing more than my thing, and I'm sort of quite enjoying it. I mean, I think like what we should do soon is we should have a conversation about why we paint what we paint.
Yeah.
And why I don't paint faces. I mean, that's not true. I mean, you have persuaded me to paint faces once or twice before.
Yeah, but you rarely paint faces.
But this is kind of interesting that I'm finding a way to sort of do TV related paintings. Yeah, long may it continue. Yeah, maybe that's what we do. We can do some more TV shows where I paint the set and you paint the actors. All right then.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Darren.
Yep, that's good. See you next time. Bye.